Good morning, students. So today we are going to be reading one of my favorite books, or at least starting it. We're not going to read the whole thing. This is not an April Fool's joke like yesterday's video. We are going to start chapter 1 of Hattie Big Sky, one of my favorite books ever. And I love this book so much for a few reasons. One reason is I love the main character, Hattie. She is so sassy and so strong and so relatable. And I also love the interesting characters in this book. I mean, there are characters named Rooster Jim and Leafy Purvis who have really interesting backgrounds and funny stories, so there's a good bit of humor in here too. There's also some seriousness and some drama. Again, this is set against the background of World War I, so you watched some videos about that yesterday on Ed Puzzle, and you learned about that, as well as how tough it was to be a homesteader. And I'm not giving too much away, but you are going to see Hattie, our main character, become a homesteader in this book, and we're going to see what it was like for her and what her struggles were. And in the background too is Charlie, who is off fighting in World War I, who is another main character in this book, so you're going to see both of those. So today, again, your assignment is to read chapter 1, and I have an assignment that goes with that. It's not due today, but I'm going to talk to you about it on today's video, and then that way those of you who want to get started on it can get started right away. If you want to read the chapter 1 today first and then work on that assignment tomorrow, that is fine too. It's up to you. So you are going to go to Google Classroom like you normally do, and you will see that there will be posted a day 4 assignment, and really day 4 is just reading chapter 1. However, if you want to get started on steps 2 through 7, you are welcome to, so I'm going to explain those next. So you should be watching my video right now that explains how to do slides 2 through 4 of this presentation. Once you've done that, you're going to choose one page from chapter 1 or 2 small sections, like 2 half-page sections that you want to use for your reflection. Please do not use pages 1 and 2 since I'm going to use those as an example. It's basically the letter that Hattie writes at the very beginning of the chapter. Then you're going to go to the 5th slide of this presentation, type your name in the box in the top right corner. You're going to take a picture of the 1 page or 2 1/2 pages that you are focusing on, and you're going to copy them into the left side. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to address that in this video here. Worst case scenario, if you can't figure that out, you can tell me what page that you want through an email, and I can upload that picture for you. And then you're going to type your reflection in the box on the right, which is what I'm going to spend the most time talking about because that's where I want to talk about some requirements that I would like in this. So here is your rubric reflection, reflection for your rubric. So you are going to take a picture of the book again, as I said, just 1 page or 2 small 1/2 page sections. The example I'm going to show you has some emojis in it, but they are completely optional. They are not worth points. You don't have to worry about spending time to figure that out. It's just if you want to. The reflection is where I really want you to focus. So you're going to put a reflection in with color-coded highlighting. And comments that you make should be an equal blend of literary thoughts, connections, questions, and feelings you have about those passages. And each of these bolded categories is worth 3 points. I'm going to talk more about what each of these categories are in just a second. Mechanics of style, I'm looking for at least 8 complete sentences. That's approximately 2 per these categories above. So like 2 for literary thoughts, 2 for connections, etc. And formal style, you can use first person, that's fine for your reflection, it's about your thoughts, your feelings, but I do want to see sophisticated vocabulary and transitions. Please don't use slang or contractions, keep it professional. The total for this is 20 points, and I do want you to be aware that your classmates are going to be able to see your reflection next week for a class activity that we do. So once you guys have all submitted these, I'm going to put them together in one Google slide presentation, and you're going to be commenting on each other's reflections. More directions for that obviously to follow. That's not until next week, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Okay, if you don't know what I mean by literary thoughts, questions, connections, feelings, I gave you a bunch of starters that you could take a look at. And these are very open-ended. There are more directions that you could go with these. It's just to get you thinking. So for literary thoughts, what I'm looking for are things like characterization, plot, conflict, figurative language, sound devices, maybe even theme. It's probably a little early in the first chapter to think about theme, but that might start happening. Questions. So what words or phrases are you unsure of? That's kind of on the small level. Maybe you have bigger questions, like why does that character do that action? What motivated them to take that step? What do you wonder about the historical setting? So we know that this is set in the early 1900s. Do you have questions about that? Or maybe they reference something that you don't know what it is. So ask questions about that. It could even be things like, what do you think might happen next? Okay, so it could be ponderings, wonderings about that. Connections. We've talked a great deal about connections throughout the throughout the class, rather. There are personal, text, and world connections. So personal is some way that you can relate to the text. So you've had some sort of similar life experience that you can relate to the character or an event that occurs in some way. A text connection means that you are relating what you've read in Hattie Big Sky to some other book that you have read, or a newspaper article, or a blog, or maybe you can relate to some video that you have seen, like on YouTube, or a movie, or a TV show, etc. World connection means that you're looking to see if any of those events remind you of anything you've seen in recent news, or even in history in the past. So maybe in your social studies classes, you've talked about something that reminds you of something that's happening in this book. Feelings, that's really pretty much what it says. So how do you feel about the characters? How do you feel about their actions? If you were in their shoes, would you have done something differently? And does anything in the story perhaps inspire you? Maybe there are some inspirational moments or motivational moments, or maybe they inspire you to change or become different in some way. So those would all fall under feelings. Notice that I've color-coded these with blue for literary thoughts, yellow for questions, like a lavender color for connections, and green for feelings. So when you write your reflection, you want to use those same color coding highlights. And here's an example of what a reflection, a good one, should look like. This is mine. Please don't copy off of your own teacher. So you will see that I have Hattie Big Sky Chapter 1, example reflection up on the top, and then my name, Mrs. Barron. This will stay the same for you guys on your slide. You will change your name here. You're going to upload 2 pictures or 1 picture of the book. My page was kind of split. So half of what I wanted was on the first page, half of what I wanted was on the second page. So I took 2 pictures, I shrunk them way down, okay, and posted them here. And then my reflection, as you can see, is color-coded. You do not have to go in order of these ones over here. And you can even blend them. So like maybe you talk about a feeling, and then you go to a connection, and then you go to another feeling, and then you go to a question. That's fine, okay? I just did it a little bit like this to make it simple for you to see. So here are my literary thoughts. I think the author is showing us Hattie and Charlie are going to be 2 of the main characters. So this has to do with literature techniques. Hattie is probably the protagonist since she is introduced first. So another specific literary term here I'm using to describe what's going on. At the beginning, I could picture the school Hattie went to because I recently read a book on one-room schoolhouses in the Midwest during the early 1900s. Okay, this is a connection, a text connection that I'm making. In addition, I know figure 8 is a phrase that refers to something in the shape of an 8 because my track coach used to have me run figure 8s around the neighborhood. So this is a personal connection. I can relate it to what it was like when I was running track. Next, I wonder if Hattie has a secret crush on Charlie because she says he must cut quite the figure in his uniform, which I think that means that she finds him handsome, that he looks good in his uniform. I also wonder what the word cunning means here. So this is more of a vocab question I have because I thought it meant clever, but I usually do not think of hats as clever. So these are wonderings or questions that I have. And then finally, feelings. So I have already, I do not like Aunt Ivy. I cannot believe she has not asked about Hattie's health in years. Also, I think Aunt Ivy may be really mean since she switches Hattie. So far, Hattie seems sassy to me, but I don't think that she is bad enough to deserve being switched. Now, I'll mention these over here too. These are Bitmojis. You can use emojis. You don't have to, though. Again, these are optional, completely optional. So it's up to you if you want to do something like this or not. So I threw in some Bitmojis that related to things that I was doing, like Aunt Ivy I thought was rude. Hattie is crushing on Charlie. I talked about the one-room schoolhouse, so I put a classroom one in here. So, these are different types of emojis or Bitmojis that you could put in. But again, that is not required. So it is not worth points in any way, shape, or form. And I also don't really want these to clutter up your PowerPoint slides. So if you're going to put a Bitmoji in, keep them small, keep them in between here, in between your photos and the reflection. I don't want that to be the bulk of your project or your assignment here. Okay, if you notice next, there is a blank slide setup. So this is yours. You're going to type your name here. You do not need to change anything here. You're going to put your picture in here and delete this little text box. and you're going to type your reflection here and color code it. If you have any further questions on that, please reach out to me and let me know. I'm so excited for you guys to start reading this book and to start talking to you about it because I love it so much. And I'm excited to read your reflections. I'm really curious to see what you have to say. All right, have a great day and have fun reading Chapter 1 of Hattie Big Sky.